Hi there, Julie Cross here. Just wanted to talk a little bit about leadership today, because one of the big questions I get asked when I do leadership seminars is about motivating team members or keeping, team members focused, or how do you discipline them, give them that feedback when they're not performing to a certain standard, and all those kinds of things, and about their attitude these days. And so I know it is a big issue, and I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but it just did make me reflect on the days when I was area manager for a group of hairdressing salons, and so I had quite a big team to manage, and there was this one young man who had great potential. He had a great skill set. I could tell that he was going to be a great hairdresser one day, but his attitude was a little poor, and also his commitment, in that he would turn up late and so there's not showing that commitment. And we can't let it ride, as leaders, because if we let that go, then it starts to erode our respect with all of the other team members. There's less respect from them, and he's really calling on me as his leader to let him know where the standards are and where the line is, and that you've crossed the line. And so we'd had a couple of incidences where this had happened, and it had got to the point where I felt like I'd exhausted all our conversations of why you can't do this. So I finally just got to the point of saying to him and putting it back in his court and saying to him, and his name was Nathan, and I just said, Nathan, if you were the leader, and so this is a way, I guess, to instigate some kind of empathy from the team member to try and put themselves in your position, which we have to do as leaders too, to understand how to manage our staff. But to say, how would you handle this then? You give me some insight and how you would handle it. So I said to him, Nathan, you were late again on Saturday. I don't know what to do anymore. We've sat and we've had all the little conversations and all the little motivational chats and all the reasons why it's important that you're on time. So you tell me then, Nathan, over the weekend, I'd like you to do something for me. I want you to go and write down, if you had an employee, if you were the area manager of a business that you had to run and you had to maintain and look after customers and make money and, do all of those things that you have to do when you've got a business so that I can employ people, then how would you respond to somebody who's doing what you do and constantly turning up late? So what have you got for me? So I just thought I'd share his reflection, because obviously he did have that moment of having to go internally and ask himself that question, because all growth happens inside, so that's where it all happens. And until we have the ability to reflect on our own behaviour, we do not have the ability to grow. So the first place to go in taking responsibility is to be able to reflect on our own behaviour. And then, with great responsibility comes great power. The saying was actually the other way, with great power comes great responsibility. But I think in fact it's the other way around. With great responsibility comes great power, because only when you take responsibility for your behaviour will you have the power to change it and make a better life. And so this is the letter anyway. I thought I'd share it with you of what he came back with. So he writes, Julie, it's harder than I thought to put what I think about the situation on paper. What I do know is that my job means more to me than anything, and I would do anything to keep from losing it. I can't find any reason for being late on Saturday, and I'm not going to try and make up any more excuses for it. I can understand why it's so difficult for you to decide what to do with me, because you obviously have to do something about it and not let it go unlooked at. I'm hoping that I'm now becoming one of those employees that is valuable and cannot be replaced very easily, and bearing in mind that neither of us wants me replaced, I can only offer to work on days off. If you have a better idea, I'll be sure to agree with it if it means me keeping my job. I hope that after all of this is resolved, we can put it all behind us and continue our little chats on a regular basis and get my arse into gear and make sure I get where we all want me to be. So I think that was a great reflection from that young man on what he needed to do to improve his behaviour. So sometimes I think that we need to instigate that reflection in our employees so that they can take personal responsibility for what they need to do differently to keep moving forward. Thank you. See you next time.